25 insane tips to win in Among Us. A game of Among Us is entirely decided by the high IQ plays you pull out during the match. So here are some of the biggest brain moves to use against your friends to help claim victory. And hey, YouTube was on cams and they told me that next to no one has subscribed to the channel with their left hand. So if you want to help break down that right hand supremacy, then take a southpaw strike that sub button down below. It's free and it helps out a ton. Number 1. Self-reporting is a devilish task, and if you got the right imposter, they can pull it off where you'll never guess that they're the ones who did it. So for all the crewmates looking to put a stop to this tactic, you simply gotta check vitals if you're on the map Polis. By watching this screen, you're able to see who's alive and who isn't, which during any other part of the match isn't that helpful. Although if you're watching this screen like a hawk and suddenly you see someone go down and a report come up on your screen, then you know who's ever reporting it is the killer themselves. Number 2. By the nature of this game, of course, everyone's gonna seem a little suspicious to you, but if someone's particularly throwing something off on your radar, make sure to watch them do a short task and see if that bar up on the top moves any. If it goes up, then you know that they're confirmed innocent, but if it doesn't, then you know who to point fingers at for the next meeting. That's the thing though, it has to be a short task. If you watch them do a long task with 2 parts, then you have to remember that it only goes up on the bar after they do the second part. Otherwise, you're just ratting out people who didn't get to finish the job yet. Number 3. If you're playing the game on a mobile device, then make sure to tab out and go and search up Unicode U+3164. Copy and paste that into your name in Among Us, and sure enough, you'll have an invisible name that's completely blank to all other players, not just those on mobile. Now as the killer, you can hide behind different parts of the scenery to get stealth kills, or even just hiding behind your other friends to get sneaky reports. It's a pretty great tactic, although it is a little cheaty, so make sure it's cool with the other people in the lobby before you use it. Number 4. In this game, time is an important asset, and especially if you're killer trying not to get caught. So that's why we gotta talk about animation skipping. For those of you who don't know, you're able to click on certain screens in the game to just skip them entirely, which turns that would-be downtime into a period of stealth and strategy. So whether it's clicking on the be quiet screen during the beginning of the game to get a head start on Mira, or even just getting away from your dead body to do tasks faster, this is definitely a tactic you gotta throw into your arsenal. And who knows, in a competitive lobby, it might just make all the difference. Number 5. This is a bit more situational, but I do love to use it on the more inexperienced friends of mine, which is if you're playing as imposter and you set off an oxygen emergency, you shouldn't avoid it, but rather head over there, open up the panel, and start mashing in the wrong code. And while they're not paying attention, you're gonna be letting that timer run dry and get yourself an easy win. Although, one of the key parts about this strategy is you can't hold on to it forever. As soon as they start to get suspicious, you're gonna have to pull it up and do the right code immediately. Otherwise, you're just putting another target on yourself. Number 6. In a big lobby, it can be pretty tough to sway the vote of all the different people in there. However, even if you're not throwing anyone out of the airlock, you gotta pay attention to who votes. Because what you'll notice is that imposters typically want to vote aggressively. So if you're in a lobby with 2 imposters, they're almost always going to vote together. Meaning if you see the same colors pop up in a bunch of different names, you might be noticing the details that help you build your case. So keep an eye out for the synchronicity and try to get that group of 2 out before it becomes the majority vote. Number 7. Knowing the tasks and jobs in this game does not just stop at knowing how to do the different mini-games and pop-ups. So if you want to improve your gameplay, then I highly recommend knowing how the tasks look to other people around you. For example, diverting power on Skeld is a 2-part task that can be faked anywhere late game, but it's always got to start in electrical. Now you see, looking out for key relationships like that can be all the difference if you're trying to pick out a suspicious person or if you're an imposter trying to blend in. So head over to the wiki, brush up on the task criteria, and then you'll be better than ever to start the game. Number 8. As an innocent crewmate, it's not only important to figure out who to vote out in the emergency meetings, but also when to vote. Because, as you'll find out, there's some numbers that are strategically bad to vote on. So if you're entering into a call with 7 players left with 2 imposters or 4 players left when there's 1, it's probably for the best that you just skip the vote and went on to the next one. Even though you do have a shot in the dark to pick out the right person or people in that bunch, it's statistically low, and in fact, you're actually giving them a better shot if you vote out the wrong person to get the kills next round and end the game quicker. Number 9. While the admin table can be useful to help out some of the crewmates know where their other buddies are, it's undeniably better for the imposter if you're trying to monitor crewmate traffic. With this, you're able to see who's splitting off from the pack and exactly where they're going to be, which is helpful if you want to have an unseen kill. But also, as the silent killer, it can be pretty helpful to know which rooms were empty for most of the round, so then you can always have your alibi set up during the meetings. Oh, no one is in storage for the round? Wrong. Now you were for the entire game. See how it works? Number 10. When you're playing with 2 imposters and find yourself in a group of 4, it's a pretty tense situation. So if you're trying to get out of it with you still surviving, then you might want to try spamming the report button as much as possible. Because if you're lucky, you might just have the chance to identify a mistimed double kill. And more importantly, with that information, you can just as easily point out both imposters at once. I wouldn't exactly say hinge your whole strategy on this little tip, but in those situations where you've got nothing left to lose, this might just give you everything you need to win. Number 11. For all you imposter hopefuls out there, clearly the cameras are some of your most crucial enemies. However, if 2 of the crewmates are tabbed into the security feed, they might just give you an opportunity instead. You see, if you were to kill one of them while both of them are watching the screen and then self-report, you're putting yourself in a high-risk, high-reward strategy. Sure, you're right in the room with the body, but also, now you've got a surviving crewmate that's unknowingly standing directly over a dead corpse. And if you know your way to talk around certain situations, you might have just framed them for the perfect kill. And even better, you got one of the camera campers off your back. Number 12. When you're running around as the imposter, one of the key things you're looking out for is the perfect opportunity when to kill. But in tandem with, and maybe even more importantly so, you've got to know exactly who to kill from the lineup. The strategy you got to follow here is to kill off skilled crewmates who know more about the game than they should, and even better, you should frame the already suspicious ones and then let the crew do the work for you. If you put that poor soul in an even unluckier situation, you might just get one other person out of the ship and your hand's completely free for doing it. Number 13. Trust is the most important currency in Among Us. So if you're thinking long term, you've always got to work to build it up with the other crewmates. Meaning, as an innocent, it's very difficult to get killed while in a group. So if you start to run with one, you might just help your chances of surviving another day. And on the other end of the coin, manipulating a crewmate by running with them and seeming innocent for most of the game could very well be the difference in a crucial vote. Keep in mind that building the relationships of trust in this is the difference between losing and winning a game of Among Us. Number 14. 2 imposters in a match can be a huge threat. And one of the biggest reasons for that is that each of them can give the other an alibi. So if you're an innocent and you see the same 2 people going together, whether that's in meetings or even just physically going to tasks together, you might be discovering the killers in disguise. So keep your eye on that crew, and whenever possible, try to throw off that group of 2 as much as possible, whether that's by having extra people join them to their activities or throwing one of them out of the airlock. Number 15. As an imposter trying to blend in, faking tasks has to be part of your daily routine. Although, if your crewmates are starting to metagame and you notice that they're starting to watch the taskbar at the top to find any liars, then you better switch from faking short tasks straight over to the long ones. However, if you're gonna pull it off right, you gotta make sure to not get the order of the parts mixed up. Because if you slip up and say that you're trying to download data in admin, yeah, you can say goodbye to the ship and hello to the cold blackness of space. It's your new home. Number 16. Polus might just stand out as one of the most visually confusing maps in the game right now, especially to newcomers. Although, all that extra visual flair that the developers threw in gives you the perfect opportunity to get some really stealthy kills. And my personal favorite might just have to be this rock out on the surface. If you manage to bait one of the other players behind the rock texture and then kill them, then you're in luck, because anyone that runs by is not going to notice the dead corpse hiding behind that rock if they can't even see it. Just as long as they don't notice the obvious report button on their screen. Number 17. While killing is the most obvious task for the imposter to do, it might not be the smartest in their toolkit. For that, I'm gonna have to give the crown to Sabotage, because by making this your main focus, you're able to throw off the actual evidence that the crewmate has when they're coming to meetings. Especially if you're focusing on sabotaging the lights. Not only does that give you better opportunities to kill, but also if they're coming into the meetings with no clue of who to trust because they couldn't see anything, that makes your wide range of imposter vision even more of an advantage. Number 18. For the smart killer, crowds are your protection. So if you're able to get everyone into a clump, then it's great to kill everyone in this situation because they're not going to be able to figure out who did the deed. So how do you set up these situations? Well, a great way is to either sabotage the comms or the lights to get everyone grouped up in a singular location to try and fix it. And as soon as they are, shuffle yourself into the deck and slit their neck. It's easy as that. Number 19. If you're the imposter in the final 3, then the first thing that you gotta be doing is sabotaging the lights. There's no question about this, it's the perfect crime. Since meetings can't be held during a crisis, you force them to clump up at the electrical room and then stab them to take the win. Being quick with this one is the key component. You gotta make sure to spam that sabotage button and do not let them have the chance to get an emergency meeting in. But as soon as you do it, you're basically setting yourself up for the win. Number 20. Just like any good magician, the role of the imposter is a game of misdirection. So if you've got a killed plan on the right side of the map, you better be sure to get that sabotage ready on the left. If you're pulling the crew away from the body, then you're not only stopping them from reporting it, but you're also giving yourself more time for more credibility. And also, by doing a sabotage, you're giving yourself more time to burn through a kill cooldown. This is a great combo, and unless you've got both of them charged up, you really shouldn't be doing one or the other unless you're absolutely certain. Number 21. If intelligent crewmates are using metagaming like the taskbar visual task to try and rule out which of their crew is innocent, then you as the killer gotta keep a watchful eye on killing one of those. Because obviously, if you find yourself late game and you start to try and throw off attention to one of them, it's not gonna work if they already know that they're clean. So get them out of the running and keep only the kind of innocent, maybe suspicious other players to throw off the attention instead. Otherwise, by framing the wrong person, you might as easily just call yourself out of the game. Number 22. Sometimes the best things to say in a meeting is complete silence. And this goes tenfold for the killer. If you're in a crowded lobby with a lot of accusations being thrown around early game, you should not be trying to speak up and dogpile, but instead keep a low profile, let your mic stay muted, and only talk when spoken to. Not only does this let clever imposters slip by undetected, but also it can give you more time to think of an alibi if you didn't already come to the meeting with one in hand, which could just be all you need. Number 23. As the imposter, it can be tough to try and find a dull moment. But if you aren't busy, what you should be doing is shutting doors on groups that have no idea where you are. If they think they're locked in with a killer about to take their life, they're not going to be thinking about you and whatever task you're faking. Plus, the strategy mixes well if you're already on the admin cams and you're seeing that other people are in a group in a different room. Close them off, keep them scared, and by doing that, you might just throw them off your case long enough to survive a critical vote. Number 24. This might seem counterintuitive, but you really don't want to come into a call with an accusation in hand. By speaking your accusation, you're just putting a spotlight right on you for an array of questions you might not be able to answer. So instead, what you should be doing is supporting the voting of either someone who's accused or in fact the person who accused them. In both of those scenarios, it's equally possible to make both sides of that equation seem suspicious. Meaning you can push the blame to either one and coordinate an attack to get them off the ship and have one less body to deal with. Number 25. Standing AFK falls under the long list in the category of sus, which means if you've got a sabotage planned, then you should not for a second stop moving to do it. Experienced players are going to piece it together that if you stopped moving and then the lights turned off a few frames afterward, it must have been you who did it. So the key strategy here is just to sabotage while you're moving around the map. I think that's your best pick. And with that, folks, make sure to vent to that subscribe button down below. And until next time, take care and have a good one, alright?